Welcome, Gunrunner.
Those of you who have been following my channel for years will know that I always do a Christmas video. In the past I've looked at my 12 games of Christmas, my 5 consoles of Christmas, and 5 consoles that failed to launch in time for Christmas. And for those that want to catch up and watch these, I'll link them down in the description. When thinking about what to do for this year's video, I looked back just a couple of months at what I did for Halloween, where I looked at 10 spooktacular 8-bit games across a wide range of different systems. That video went down pretty well, so I thought why not carry over that concept to Christmas too. So yes, instead of 8-bit Halloween, we now have 8-bit Christmas instead. Same concept, just themed for a different holiday. As before, there are 10 different games across 10 different systems that cover a wide range of different genres, but are all very much Christmas themed. For those that wondered, none of these are based on Christmas films. This was actually another idea I had for this video, so I think I'll save that one for the future. As who wouldn't want to see me look at stuff like Home Alone, The Gremlins, Batman Returns, The Grinch, and Die Hard. Yes, it is a Christmas film, but let's not have that argument here. But before I get on with the games, I just want to wish all my viewers a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The channel has gone from strength to strength in 2023, and I couldn't have done it without you. I feel really blessed to have such a wonderful community around me. Now grab yourself an eggnog and a mince pie as we let the games begin.
There's a magical place, we're on our way there, with toys in the millions all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us. Soon after bedtime, when dark nighttime falls, Jeffrey and helpers stock up all the shelves. From ceiling to floor, books, board games and bikes, tennis, puppets and dolls, beds, spaceships and trikes. There's millions, says Jeffrey, all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
I'm going to start this list off with the absolutely charming Jetpack Santa for the BBC Micro, because it's a game I hadn't even heard of until very recently, and I'm betting that most of you won't be aware of it either. I also love the fact it's based on one of my all-time favourite 8-bit games, the excellent Jetpack by Ultimate Play the Game, aka Rare. Also known as Jet Set Santa, this was part of the 6-game Christmas Crackers compilation, and by far the best of the bunch. So the gameplay is almost identical to Ultimate's game, but instead of building a rocket ship, you have to erect a Christmas tree. Once you've picked up all the parts to that and put the star on top, you need to collect presents to put underneath it. These replace the need to collect fuel in the original. However, unlike Jetpack, these only stay on the screen for a very short time, so you need to be quick in collecting them. As before, there are enemies attacking you the entire time, and you can shoot these to get them out of your way. These range from pretty normal snowflakes to snapping toilets. Hitting an enemy drains your energy until there's none left, and then it's game over. Visually, Jetpack Santa is really attractive. The overly bright BBC palette is perfect for a game like this. The sound effects are also pretty decent, if nothing amazing. Overall, this is an absolutely stonking Christmas game, and one of my undoubted favourites from this list. Over the years, it's become somewhat of a tradition to release a holiday-themed game for the 2600 every Christmas, and without doubt Toy Shop Trouble is the most memorable of them. This awesome homebrew was created by a large team of well-known Atari fans, including the likes of John Payson, Zach Matley, Bob Montgomery, Nathan Strum, Dave Exton, Fred Quimby and Thomas Jench. The game itself is often compared to the classic Activision title Pressure Cooker. I can certainly see why. The plot tells us that 3 of Santa's elves are lying on a beach soaking up the sun with all their work out the way. However, it seems that a number of corners were cut to get them there, which involved simply throwing all the toys into a vat of grey paint. As you probably guessed, Santa is raging. December is here and all he has is a load of boring grey toys, so he asks you, the poor elf who never got to go on holiday, to finish the job properly. So you need to paint the toys as they move along 5 conveyor belts. Toys must be painted in the proper colours, sometimes once but often twice, and these must be applied in the correct order. All the toys need to be painted before the whistle at the end of your shift sounds, so time is of the essence. Both the audio and visuals in Toy Shop Trouble are fantastic, and the fast action gameplay will keep you at it for many Christmases more. I have to confess that I wasn't even considering including an Apple II game in this list, but when I started searching for Christmas related games online using various different keywords, this one came up, and as soon as I saw it in action, I knew that I had to include it. You won't be surprised to learn that in this game you control Santa in his sleigh, flying high up above the houses delivering presents. As you approach the chimneys, you'll need to try and both drop and guide the present into them. So this isn't just a case of timing it right, as you can also move them left or right a limited amount as they fall, which makes things a little bit easier. But your job isn't as simple as it sounds, unfortunately, as the night sky is full of hazards including birds, abandoned satellites and even the Grinch, with the latter of these suspiciously resembling Pac-Man. Thankfully, Rudolph can shoot photon bolts out of his famous red nose, yes, really, which you can use to take out the space junk and those pesky Grinches. However, shooting or hitting birds will dock you points, so these need to be avoided, which is much harder than it sounds. If an enemy hits you, then you lose a life, but more of these can be earned. Graphically, this is pretty impressive for an Apple II game, and it even has a simple rendition of Jingle Bells on the title screen. My main complaint is that it's a bit slow, and your sleigh is a bit too big, but it's still an interesting and enjoyable Christmas romp anyway. is a really Christmassy but rather obscure platform game for the Game Boy Color that was later released in a greatly enhanced form for the Game Boy Advance too. The game starts off with a lovely intro that shows Santa being captured by an evil witch who wants to bring misery to kids everywhere. Thankfully, Santa's son Nick is on the case and sets out to not only rescue his loving father from the clutches of the old crone, but also recover all the presents too. As you make your way around the levels, you collect said presents as well as candy canes, which are a lot like the coins in Super Mario Bros. Or the rings in Sonic, hearts to replenish your health, and you also need to light up Christmas trees too. The evil witch has sent her minions out to stop you. Most of these can be defeated by jumping on them, again like Super Mario, but if they manage to hit you then you lose a heart. You lose all of these and you die. You start off with 3, but more can be collected as you progress. Some of the levels are pretty large and you'll need to jump, climb and bounce off objects to reach high up places. In most ways this is a pretty generic platform game, but the seasonal theme combined with the attractive graphics and sound really help elevate it. I also like the way they included a password option so you can return where you left off. If you own a GBC and want to get in the holiday spirit, then this is the game for you. Subtitled Santa's Christmas Chaos, this game from Thorn EMI's Creative Sparks label was also released for the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum, but this is the best version of the 3 in my opinion. This is a very original game indeed that is made up of 3 equally unique parts. In the first part of the game you'll fly through the sky catching presents that are dropped by angels and avoiding any that are dropped by the demons. You also have to make sure you avoid the clouds and the mountain tops, hitting either removes presents from your sack. Once you have enough presents, which is shown in the info panel at the bottom of the screen, you can land on a rooftop and jump down the chimney. Once into the chimney you have to climb down into the house, but this isn't as easy as you thought, as you have to avoid snow falling down from the top and errant flames coming up from below. Make it into the house itself and you start the third and final part, where you're required to put the presents under the tree, then collect the key and make your escape. The problem is the excited children have stayed up hoping to catch you, and if they see you then you lose a life. So this part requires a fair bit of stealth. After this the game just repeats, but keeps getting harder. Special Delivery is a brilliant Christmas game with great graphics, excellent sound and nice varied gameplay too. around the time of this game's release, budget publishers Alternative Software had really made a name for themselves by publishing cartoon-related licenses aimed mostly at children, like Sooty and Sweep, Postman Pat and Thomas the Tank Engine. This game was designed to kind of continue that focus, but it's hilarious to think that they could trick people into thinking they had licensed this game directly from St. Nick himself. However, a portion of the profits for each copy sold was donated to Save the Children, as splashed on the cover, which was very noble indeed. The game itself is split into 3 very distinct parts, the first of which sees you searching around your house looking for bits of your sleigh. Once you've got them all, you have to take them out to the waiting reindeer so you can get going. The only problem is that there are pesky elves running around said house, and if you touched one, the party's taken, only to be randomly placed back in the house somewhere. The second part sees you making a list of presents, which you then have to catch as they fall from the sky. Lastly, you're flying the sleigh through the night, dropping presents to the houses below, whilst avoiding the clouds, birds and aircraft. The visuals are actually very nice here, and the Sid blasts out some great renditions of Christmas music as you play. The official Father Christmas is actually a lot better than you'd think. Okay, so I was somewhat surprised by the lack of Christmas themed games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. You'd think that a console as popular as the NES with a huge library to match would have at least a few, wouldn't you? Well, apparently not, but whilst I was searching, I did find this, a very cool ROM hack of Super Mario Bros. Called Toad's Christmas Adventure. In many ways, it's actually a bit unkind to call it a hack, because Dark Data has made so many changes that it's almost a completely new game. The brief plot tells us that Santa's evil brother has stolen Toad's little sister, Toadette, and all of Toad's Christmas gifts too. And yes, you've guessed it, you have to make your way through the frozen wastes of the Mushroom Kingdom's North Pole to save them. The game only comprises of 4 levels, which might make it sound easy, but you only start with 1 life. It is possible to collect more, but it certainly starts off pretty tough. While I say tough, it might just be that I absolutely suck at platform games, as you can no doubt see from this video. I'm sure a seasoned Super Mario player wouldn't have anywhere near as many problems as I did. The graphics look great here, fit into the theme perfectly, and the audio is decent too. So if you own an NES and have been bemoaning the lack of seasonal games yourself, then Toad's Christmas Adventure may be just the ticket. classic dig 'em up, Boulder Dash? Of course you do. Not only is it ranked as one of the best home computer games ever, it also got a pretty awesome MSX port too. The huge success of the game saw many people trying to copy it, not least the obscure Statesoft with Icicle Works. However, rather than just rip First Star Software's game off completely, like many other people did, they did at least try to add some of their own ingredients into the mix. In this one, you play as Santa Claus himself, who wakes up on Christmas Eve to find his factory in chaos. All the toys have gone missing and he must venture out into the icy lands of the North Pole to retrieve them. The basic game mechanics are the same as Boulder Dash. Dig through the ground, try not to let the boulders drop on your head, or giant snowballs as they are here, avoid getting killed by the enemies, collect the items and get to the exit. The programmer here has tweaked small parts of this though to suit the theme. The only way to retrieve the presents is by dropping snowballs on the enemies' heads, which requires very precise timing, and you can't enter the exit until you've found the key. This adds a lot more risk and reward into the game. While the graphics look suitably wintry, the single colour sprites and jerky scrolling isn't so great. The audio is also a bit hit and miss too. Thankfully, Icicle Works is a lot of fun to play though. The elves in Santa's workshop need a sharp mind if they're to correctly build millions of toys needed for Christmas every year. With that in mind, Santa has developed a computer program he calls Santa Simon to help the elves improve their memory. The premise is pretty simple. All you need to do is remember the sequence that the Christmas tree, reindeer, snowman and Santa himself signal to you, and then play that sequence back in the right order using the controller. So for anyone who remembers that old Simon handheld, hence the name, where you had to push the colour buttons in sequence, you'll be very familiar with this. That is pretty much all there is to it, in all honesty. It's just presented in a much more attractive way with a chilly seasonal theme. Santa Simon was actually released on cartridge as a special bonus to the Atari Age Christmas sale in 2006, so it's now quite hard to find and therefore very collectible. The graphics do look quite nice with cartoony characters and good use of the 7800's fast palette. The audio also does the job well enough considering the 7800's horrid sound chip and the nature of the game. It's fair to say that Santa Simon is quite fun in the short term, but it's not a game that will hold your interest for very long and lacks the long-term playability to justify the cost of obtaining it. Still, it's nice to see an Xmas themed game on the 7800 anyway. people think about their favourite things to watch at Christmas, the first thing that comes to mind is often the magical Raymond Briggs animation, The Snowman, based on the book of the same name of course. But did you know that there's also an official video game of The Snowman too? Well, you do now, because here it is on the venerable Sinclair ZX Spectrum. In many ways you could describe this as a clone of the famous Data East arcade game Burger Time, as much of the premise and general gameplay is the same. You have to move around a fixed screen collecting all the parts you need to build a snowman, but rather than letting them drop, in this game you have to carry them to a specifically marked location. Trying to stop you are a bunch of enemies, who will put the items back if they come into contact with you. On the first levels they are harmless, you can just walk through them with no penalty, as long as you aren't carrying anything of course, but on later levels you'll lose your life if you come into contact with the humbuggers. The visuals are quite nice here, it certainly feels very wintry, but the audio is pretty rubbish. In fact it's almost non-existent, and it's a shame they never tried to replicate the famous theme song. The Snowman starts off nice and easy, no doubt with young kids in mind who would have been attracted to it, but it turns into a rather challenging and also very fun game if you stick at it.
Many of them crack down Christmas. Woolworth is the place to be.
And that rounds up my look at 10 seasonal 8-bit games to enjoy this Christmas. Perhaps I'll return with a list of 16-bit games next year. But before I go, do you have any suggestions of your own that people should check out? Or do you have something to say about my own picks? As always, I love to hear the thoughts and views of my audience, so please get typing in that comment section. But now's the time I must thank all of my loyal patrons to continue to support my channel through 2023 and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following patrons and YouTube backers in particular for their much appreciated pledges: Paul Daniel, Mins, Dos Gamerman, Luke MC, Carl Olsen, Seth Robinson, Grady Haynes, Mark Strickland, Klimatorn, Trogdor the Burninator, Daniel Skoronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitsune, Alan J. Dodds and Electron Starclaps. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours into 2024, including this YouTube channel, then please go check out my Patreon right now. You can get access to host extra content including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights and much more besides. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching and I'll see you all again in the new year.